All right, Toronto Deputy Mayor Norm Kelly joins us now on the phone. Deputy Mayor, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
It's my pleasure.
So, what did you make of Rob Ford's comments today?
Well, I reviewed with him yesterday a range of issues and concerns that had been raised by my colleagues on council. And I noticed that to those who asked for an apology, they received it. For the many who said that he's got to acknowledge the impact of his personal life on the life of this city, he did. A number of councillors thought this was really an important issue, and that is get him a driver. Someone to pick him up in the morning, drive him around all day, drop him off in the evening. And the reason they wanted this was because they wanted to lift the cloud of suspicion that hung over the mayor's daily activities. Well, now I think he's addressed that, and I'm really delighted, and I think others will be as well. And finally, there was this desire to curb the impact of his public drinking, or drinking privately and acting out publicly. And he has acknowledged that he's done that and that he will stop. So,
Norm, I want to ask you, you're right, from what I had heard, he did acknowledge the incident on St. Patrick's Day and another incident on the Danforth, saying he was drinking. But, initially he made an apology, and I've got to say, I was listening, and I think for a lot of other Canadians, I really wasn't sure what he was apologizing for. He was talking about mistakes he's made without ever really being specific.
Well, I take this, frankly, as the first step in the new direction. And he set a standard for himself. He said, look, at the public performance that you've seen in the past will end. There'll be a more respectable Mayor Ford in public. I think he's set the bar high for himself. There will not be a repeat of all the things that you've seen, not just public drinking, but all the other stuff. You will not see this from me going forward. And in response, I'm urging my colleagues to give him the chance to prove himself and to hold him to the standards he set for himself.
You mentioned, Deputy Mayor, that you met with Rob Ford yesterday. You had a discussion. You raised concerns that had been brought to you by other city councillors. And, you are obviously close to him and went into that meeting really to share, information for the good of the city with good intentions. How did it go?
Well, we're two football guys. Played it, coached it. And sometimes football is a good analogy for life and for certain situations. And that was a common ground. As well, we've served together over the last, 12 years. And so we know each other. So I thought it was a very positive context within which to have a candid conversation.
What sorts of concerns did you raise with the mayor?
Well, I can't tell you in detail other than the ones that I've acknowledged already and that he has addressed. But I can tell you that he's aware of the broader picture and that there just simply cannot be a repeat of any of them in the future.
I know you've been paying very close attention to what's being said. As you know, the city has been split at best on the mayor, and all the major papers have called for the mayor to step aside. In fact, many Torontonians want the mayor to resign. Where exactly does the city go from here?
Well, I think that it goes forward. We have a mayor who has rededicated himself to hopefully blameless public life. And all we can do is see how this works out over time. Now, any decision he would have made would have had to have been tested over time. So let's just see how this works out.
You know, much like
And he has to know, by the way, that every eye on this city is going to be on him.
Much like Ford, Norm, I feel like you're choosing your words very carefully.
Moi, a politician doing that?
I take it, though, that this is not the touchdown, to use your football analogies, that you were looking for today.
Well, you know, I think we're going into the fourth quarter.
Well, beyond the city at large, where does Toronto Council go from here? Because it still seems very fractured. And although there is a lot of concern for Rob Ford, there's also a lot of, it seems, anger.
Well, you know, we are a truly democratic assembly. You don't, you know, in the parliamentary order of things, the critics lament the absence of democracy. You know, there's a democratic deficit in the parliamentary order. Well, you may argue that we have a democratic surplus, but I'd rather have the surplus than the deficit. And there will always be fractious issues, and that's the way a democracy works.
But normally it should be about the issues and not about the behavior of one individual.
Well, more often than not, you're right. And what he said is that he's going to take that out of the mix, and I'm going to hold him to it.
Norm Kelly, we really appreciate your time and your insight. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
You're welcome.